We are joined by the Auditor-General Tsakani Maluleke, and the reason for that is that she will be hosting the Summit of Supreme Audit Institutions. They call them SAI20. This is part of the G20 processes. Auditor-General, good afternoon. Thank you for coming through. I was looking through the history of this element of the work of the G20, Supreme Audit Institutions. It's relatively new from what I understood. What is it? What does it seek to do in relation to transparency and good governance globally?
Thank you for the opportunity, and good afternoon to you and the viewers at home. So Supreme Audit Institutions are the Auditors General and their offices. So it is the national audit offices in every country. In the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a sense that we could do better as Supreme Audit Institutions to give greater foresight, better insight on how our respective governments were responding to the crisis, how they were deploying public resources in response to the crisis, and how they could do so effectively and still maintain the key principles of accountability and transparency. So the meeting and this platform, this engagement group, which has been chaired by India, Indonesia, and Brazil, and now us in the context of the chairmanship and the presidency of G20. It's an engagement platform that really seeks to have Auditors General grappling with key issues that will make sure that we are giving the type of advice, insight, and support to the governance systems in our respective countries.
How hard is that, or how easy is it to coordinate that kind of a conversation, given that the regimes in place in terms of independence, in terms of enabling legislation and frameworks is vastly different over these 20 countries? So how easy or how hard is it to coordinate that conversation?
You know, surprisingly very easy. We all operate in the context of SAI, which is the global forum of AGs. And within the context of SAI, which has 195 members, we've all agreed on a number of key principles of what it is to be a supreme audit institution that is adequately independent, adequately capacitated to be effective in executing on its mandate. And so we have particular standards that we all aspire towards and we try hard to implement. We also support each other in advocating for advances in that regard. So the key principles of how we engage, what we engage upon, what we prioritize, those are actually quite consistent regardless of where we operate.
All right. So I see that you've set yourself two broad themes that you would like to champion as part of your chairing of this particular stream of work of the G20. And the way I understand it, one has to do with infrastructure and the second one with skills development.
Yes.
How exactly are you going to champion these?
So what we're doing is, first of all, we took account of South Africa's theme for G20 and its presidency, the one about solidarity, equality, sustainability. And then we asked ourselves as the current chairs of SAI20, what is the key set of conversations we ought to be having as Auditors General, given that all of us are independent and we aspire to become even more independent. And incidentally, South Africa has been acknowledged as being one of the top independent offices, audit offices across the world by the World Bank, in that we meet the criteria that makes for an independent supreme audit institution. But given that we are independent, we also want to make an impact in the lived reality of the citizens we serve. How do we use that mandate, as independent as it is, to support our governments in their development trajectories? So taking account of the key theme that South Africa had chosen, we then thought infrastructure is a key theme that every country is looking at, whether they're developed or developing. How do you make sure that you're deploying the capital available to put in place new infrastructure projects or even maintain existing infrastructure in a way that optimizes the value of that spend so that you can deliver services as well as grow your economy? And we found that that theme has particular resonance with all the countries around the table. The second one is about human capital development. The key question being, with the world changing as quickly as it is around us, every single country is seized with answering the question of how do they make sure that they are developing the type of skills that are relevant for the economies today and tomorrow, and how do they make sure that the people in their different jurisdictions are equipped with the skills that help them participate in their economies and their democracies. So that theme has relevance whether you are in a developed country, let's say in Europe, or whether you are a developing country, whether it is in the global south.
You may or may not have intended for it, but the two themes you've chosen quite resonate. I know you're saying with all the various countries whose superior audit institutions, supreme audit institutions will be participating, but it resonates particularly with our country, right? Given some of the challenges we have seen, including in the implementation of our own infrastructure projects, and how, you know, governance can become a challenge. Yes. And right now we're talking about how that can be a challenge within the sector education and training authority, the second part of the theme. So I'm just wondering, what are your own reflections as you prepare to lead the discussions around these themes?
You know, as South Africa, we have the benefit of auditing all of government, right? And every single year, the AG in this country must make sure that there's a proper audit conducted on every single public institution. That's one. Two, as an audit office within South Africa, we've invested over many years in the capability that helps us deliver value-adding insight on those key themes. Whether we're auditing municipalities, we look carefully at how they're deploying funds on maintaining infrastructure and building infrastructure projects. You may have noticed this in our most recent report on local government. When we deal with national government, we do audit the SAIs, but then we also audit the Department for Higher Education and Training. We audit the Student Financial Aid Scheme. We audit the TVET colleges. We audit the SAIs, and we oversee the audits of the universities. And over time, we've been seized with the question of what are the key areas that need attention, whether it's duplication or fragmentation, that will help us optimize the spend so that we do deliver skills to South Africans today and tomorrow. Yeah. So I believe we have the opportunity as South Africa to add value into the conversation amongst our peers, because we've had this experience of investing heavily in this area.
All right, but you know, this is a question, and I think I've thrown at you at every turn when I've been able to speak to you. You had your powers reviewed recently, a few years ago actually, in terms of the remedial actions you can take with regard in particular to material irregularities. How's that going in terms of the bite that was meant to come with that?
It's been going pretty well. We could always do better, but it's been going pretty well. Just a reminder of what these powers are about. So when we audit and we identify that there's an irregularity that's quite material in terms of financial loss or in terms of harm to an institution or harm to the public, we can raise it much more sharply and follow up on how it's being dealt with. We never step into the shoes of the people running government. So the heads of department, the municipal managers, they still have to do their part. We never step into the shoes of a mayor, neither do we step into the shoes of a minister. We also don't step into the shoes of parliament or councils, and we also don't step into the shoes of the prosecutorial services. Ours is to make sure that we follow up and refer matters as the case may be. How's it been going? Extremely well in terms of how I see things from our audit office. We've been able to refer matters for investigation. We've seen some people being prosecuted. We've been able to see money being brought back into the fiscus through our follow-up. And it's matters which the people charged with running these institutions and protecting resources were neglecting to attend to until we raised those matters. We've also been able to get people to fix wastewater treatment plants, which we believed were causing harm. We've been able to get people to submit financial statements, which we should never have had to do, but we've been able to use our powers. So what I'm saying is that these powers were always going to be complementary. And our office has used them to good effect. What we need are accounting officers to do their work so that they learn from the matters we are raising and implement corrective action, not just on the matter we've identified, but to protect the institution from further harm, right? And avoid further problems. We've raised these matters in a way that gets mayors to kind of learn from every experience and do better. Parliament and councils to do better, provincial legislatures to do better. We've been also able to collaborate with law enforcement in a way that's quite effective.
AG, I've got to thank you for coming through, and all of the best with the hosting of the Summit of Supreme Audit Institutions of the G20. That was Auditor-General Tsakani Maluleke.